back to my channel. I hope you are having a wonderful day today. It is a little bit rainy here, but it's kind of nice to cool off. This summer has been super hot for me, so it's nice to kind of open the windows and let the breeze come in and get that nice cool air in here. So I'm enjoying the rain today. I don't have to be outside in it though, so maybe that's why. But you guys, thank you for joining me on my channel once again. And today I have something a little bit different for you. I've had a few people ask to explain how to use an eyeshadow palette. So I thought I would come on here and give it my best shot to explain an eyeshadow palette to you guys. Please remember that I do not know everything. I am just a beginner in this world, and this is kind of the tips and the tricks that I know for eyeshadow. Hopefully it works for you guys too, but I am not a professional at this, so please don't get mad at me if I'm not following the correct steps, but this is kind of what's been working for my eyeshadow. So before we get started, I'm just gonna have a quick sip of my coffee and we can get going. You guys, does anybody else have an obsession for Bumble off of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? My boyfriend bought me 2 of these cups last Christmas and they're absolutely adorable. I'm not necessarily ready for Christmas just yet, but this is one of the coffee mugs that I do drink coffee out of on a weekly basis, just because Bumble is cool throughout the whole year, not just Christmas. All right, you guys, so let's learn a little bit about eyeshadow palettes. So one really cool thing about smaller eyeshadow palettes is basically they've already done the color matching for you already. So I'm going to use a smaller palette today, but I kind of just want to show you on like a larger palette, just in case you don't have any of the smaller palettes, that they kind of do the color matching for you. So they usually put shades together that already are aesthetically pleasing and that match. So like these 4 colors up here would make a great look. Those 4 colors all go together. Same as these 4 colors over here. So they're usually kind of matched. Usually if they're kind of touching each other in the palette, I think that they kind of match really well. Like this unit right here of the purples and the pinks, I feel like would be a super cute, bright, bold look. And also, there are no rules. You can do whatever you want with an eyeshadow palette. You can use this yellow with that pink or mauve, whatever you want to call it. You can do whatever you want. But this is kind of like the how-to of the palette. So please don't feel limited, like you can't use certain colors with each other if they're not connected or they're not in their group of 4. You can use anything you want. But typically they've already put colors together that go together really well in the palette. So they've kind of already done that part of the job for you. Now, so if you're looking at a smaller palette, maybe like the Huda Nude Medium palette, these colors basically can all go together in my opinion. You can make a really nice look with any of these colors. Once again, you can kind of square them off and have these 4 colors go together or these 4 colors to go together. But basically, in my opinion, anything in this palette put together would go together. I'm going to keep this palette out. I'm not going to use this palette as my main palette, but I am going to use it for a color or 2, and I'll explain a little bit later what I mean by that. But the palette that I'm going to use today could be solely used by itself. It's one of the e.l.f. palettes, and this e.l.f. palette is called Berry Bad. So it's a lot of like darker fall colors, and I am gonna do a video within the next few weeks of like a fall look. And so this isn't the palette that I was planning on using, but it just so happens I feel like this is gonna be another fall look, which is perfect because fall is right around the corner for us. But this is the palette I'm going to use. and I'm gonna kind of explain what colors I'm gonna use where and why. So like I said, I am gonna jump in with a few colors from the Huda palette, but you're more than welcome to just only use this palette. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to prime my eyelids. So a lot of people will just use their concealer to prime their eyelids, and that's totally fine. I'm going to use the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer potion, and I'm gonna put that on my eyes just so I feel like the eyeshadow primer makes the colors more vibrant and bold. And so for this look, I want to use an eyeshadow primer, but I don't always use one. And it also kind of helps the look stay in place throughout the day as well. But once again, you don't have to use an eyeshadow primer. A lot of people will just use their concealer and put that on the top of their eyelids as well. And that will help kind of be a primer for your eyelids. But today we're gonna jump in with the Urban Decay. So this just comes as a wand, but I'm actually just gonna take a brush and take some of it off of the wand, and then I'm gonna apply it to my eyelid. I'm gonna move you guys a little bit closer, seeing as how we are working strictly on the eyelids and eyeshadow today. I did already my face with foundation and concealer and powder, so that part of my face is already done. So there is a little bit of color to this eyeshadow primer, but it's basically a very neutral color. So you really can't tell that anything is on my eye. Okay, and so I'm just gonna do the same thing with the other eye. And I'm just applying the primer with a flat brush, but you can also just apply the primer with your finger too. All right guys, so now we are ready to get started. The first thing we're gonna do is I'm going to get a fluffy brush. So this is my fluffy brush here, and then we're going to pick the lightest matte shade in our palette. So matte means that it has no sparkles, it doesn't have any shimmer, it's just strictly the color. And that's going to be this color here on the end in the e.l.f. palette. So I'm going to take this and dip it in my brush like this. And then I just kind of knock off the excess eyeshadow. And then we're going to coat the entire lid with this color. So the first color that you're going to apply will be a very light, close to your skin color eyeshadow to start with your base. See, so it's not a big difference, but you can definitely see that there's some eyeshadow on there compared to this eye. So I'm gonna do the same thing, other side, dip my eyeshadow in the palette, knock it off, and then apply. So this color, as I said, is going over the entire lid. And of course, if you ever need more eyeshadow, you can always go back and grab some more. Okay, so now we have our base color on our eyelids. So there's that color there for you. So now we're going to take our transition shade. That's what it's called. So with that in the palette, I feel like this step would be skipped with this palette because there are only those 4 colors, and this is kind of your transition shade. But if you do have another palette that you want to use as well, like I said, I'm going to use the Huda Beauty palette. You're going to be looking for like a medium matte brownish color, depending on the look that you're going with your eyeshadow, but typically the medium brown will go with most colors. And then you're going to apply this with a fluffy tapered brush. So for that, I'm going to jump in and use this color here on the bottom. It's kind of like a brownie pink, which I feel like will go with the color in the e.l.f. palette. And once again, you just dip that in with your brush. So this is a fluffy tapered brush, and you're going to knock off the excess, and then you're going to apply this to the center of your eyelid, and you're gonna do windshield wiper motions. And so you're just going to work this out into the crease of your eyelid. So you go in windshield wiper motions, back and forth like so. You can do small little circles. Okay, so then you have a little bit of definition in your eyelid. Over to the next eye. So once again, start in the middle, work your way out. So with that, as you can see on my eyelids, now it's starting to bring some definition to the eyes. So sometimes when we start with those first two colors, those aren't always in our 4-pan eyeshadow palette. So if you have a big, large eyeshadow palette, there's more than likely those two shades in one of those palettes that you can use. Or like I said, you can just make use of that first matte color in your 4-pan eyeshadow palette and do those 2 steps with that one color. So now we kind of jump into our color story. So like I said, this is your entire color story here on your smaller pans. But then, as I gave you an example with the larger pans, this might be your color story here, or this might be your color story here. So it's 3 to 4 colors that are gonna match well with each other. Okay, so in your palette, now you're gonna find your second to darkest matte shade color. So once again, there's only 2 matte shades in that e.l.f. palette, and so I'm going to use the Huda Beauty as well. If you want to know just how to use that one eyeshadow palette, I can also make a quick video and give you an example of a look you can create with the 4-pan eyeshadow palette. But because we're wanting to use the second darkest matte color, we don't want to use this darkest color just yet in the e.l.f. palette, and we already used the other matte as like our transition and our base, and the other 2 are shimmer shades. So you can use the shimmer shade if you want, but I'm gonna hop over to the Huda Beauty palette and I'm going to jump in with the second darkest like dusty rose type looking color here. And I'm just gonna take a fluffy brush, dip it in the palette. You always knock it off, and we're gonna do little circular motions from the outer corner of the eye, moving it in, moving it in. So I always say with eyeshadow, you can always start out less is more. It's easier to add more eyeshadow rather than start with too much. So as I said, I'm gonna start in the corner of my eye, and little circular motions, I'm going to move it in. I'm gonna start moving it in. And you guys, the best way you're going to figure out how to do your eyeshadow is just simply to play around with it. So don't be embarrassed to try a look that you're not necessarily a pro at yet. That's the way that you get better. That's the way that I'm improving too. I, as I said, am not an expert at this, and the more I practice, the easier it kind of gets. So remember, there doesn't have to be these rules. These are only kind of guidelines that you can follow, but do whatever you want with your eyeshadow. If you're kind of familiar with the color wheel, you know what colors match and go well with each other. And so that's a really helpful aspect as well when you're looking at eyeshadow. If you don't know where to start, kind of take a look at the color wheel and think of 2 colors that you want to mesh together. If you're not doing like just like a pinky look or a yellow look, if you want to mix colors, go check out the color wheel. All right, guys, so we kind of have that smoky look starting with our eyeshadows. Now we're going to use a flat shader brush. So that is a flat shader brush, and you're going to find the second to lightest shimmer shade in your palette. So when you only have a 4-pan palette, that would be your darkest shimmer shade. And so you're going to go in with that and we're going to pat it on to the eyelid. So a lot of the time, if you're not getting enough pigmentation, it works really well to use some setting spray and spray that on your brush, or just get your brush a little damp and the color is gonna come up a lot more vibrant and bright. So our darkest shimmer shade is this one right here, and we're gonna simply go in like so, and then we are going to apply this to our lid. I don't have anything on this brush, so I can show you a difference. I can get my brush wet for the second one and do this one dry, just so you can kind of see if there's a difference for yourself. So then this, as I said, this shimmer shade is going to be patting onto your eyelid. So you just kind of pull down the color. See, like so. That definitely adds a little bit of purple to our look. So now I'm going to go wet my brush and I will do my other eye just so you can see if there's any difference yourself. Okay, so I just ran my brush underwater for a second and then I just wiped it off on a paper towel. And I'm gonna go in with the exact same shade and apply it to my other eyelid. See, in my opinion, I don't know if you can see or not, but I feel like that pigmentation is so much better with a wet brush. We're just patting it on and kind of sweeping it down. I don't know if you guys can tell the difference. I definitely think this eye looks more pigmented. So you guys, now that we have a few different colors kind of going in, we're gonna take our original fluffy brush that we went in with a light matte color, and we're just gonna kind of blend in everything just so that the edges don't look so rough. So you don't put any color on the brush, you just use the first one that we used and just kind of blend in the colors with each other. And you guys, you don't have to have 8 different brushes to do your eyeshadow. You can use the same brush and just kind of clean it off as you go. So as you can see, this one is kind of more like worked in and blended as this one. So then we're gonna go in and do the same thing with this one, just so that we don't have any harsh lines. Okay guys, so next we are going to use a pencil brush here. So it's just like a tip, just kind of looks like a felt or a pencil. And we're gonna go in with our lightest shimmer shade in our color story here. So our lightest shimmer shade is this one right here. And we're gonna apply it to the inner corner of our lid. So I'm just gonna put that in there and go into our inner corner of our lid. And we're just gonna kind of work that in. And we kind of work it over a little bit once the color is mostly applied on the eyeshadow, just to blend it in. There, like so. So then we're gonna go in and do the same thing with our other eye. So it's up to you how dramatic you want the look to be, so you can always go in and apply more color. Okay, now we're going to take a large shader brush. Once again, you don't need all these different brushes. You can use the same brush and just kind of clean it off as you're going. But we're gonna, if you have different brushes and you wanna use different brushes, you just kind of want a large shader brush here. That's how that one looks. And we're going to go in with the darkest matte color on the palette. So that's obviously this color over here, and we're going to apply it to the outer corner of our eyes. So some people will call this our V. So as you can see, if you kind of look closely, here to here is your V. So that's where you're going to kind of work in your darkest matte color in your color story. So because this is your darkest color, go in with just a little amount and work your way up to the darker pigmentation that you want. And so we're just gonna kind of pat it in that V. It's always good to knock off your eyeshadow like this. It definitely helps with fallout, so that you're not getting like a lot of that makeup under your eyes, especially when you already have your foundation and your concealer done. That's kind of a pain to try to clean up. So now you can kind of really start to see that smoky look that's going on. So again, gonna go do the exact same thing on the other eye, of course. So just the corner of your outer eyelid, your V. Just pat it in there. If you do ever feel like you kind of went out of the lines, like there's a little bit of eyeshadow down here, maybe you don't like that, you can always just grab a different brush and wipe away any of the excess eyeshadow that might be under your eyes, or try to just wipe it away and clean it up here. Any like fallout that you're getting. Or you can also, once you're totally done your eyeshadow look, you can always apply some concealer just to kind of clean up the lines that you're using as well. All right, next step is I'm going to do my lower lash line. So not everybody does this, and you definitely don't have to do this, but I'm gonna take a mixture of the two matte colors, so the ones on the end. So I'm just gonna dip, so you're gonna be using like the tip of your brush, so I'm gonna dip these two colors in together, and then I'm gonna apply that to the 2/3 of my lash line. So I'm gonna kind of stop around here. Like I said, this is totally an optional step. If you don't want to put the eyeshadow under your eyelash on the under eye, that's totally fine too. So for this, I'm just going in with kind of like a flat brush. And again, if you're not familiar with applying under your eye, just start with less. And then you can kind of get more familiar with it and build it up. So we're gonna work it in with the shadow on the top and also pull it down. Just like that. So it kind of just matches your top to your bottom a little bit, and it just brings more color to your eye. Okay guys, so the last step that I do is I find the lightest shimmer shade in your entire palette. So again, using this palette, you only have those 4 options, so you would kind of already be done. But if you had like a highlighter, or you have another palette that has like a lighter shimmer shade, it's kind of neat to put it like in the corner of the inside of your eyes and on top of your, or sorry, underneath your eyebrows, just to kind of give a little pop. So I'm gonna find the lightest shimmery shade in my Huda palette here. And you can use any palette. It's more of like kind of like a white shimmer, or if it's not white, then it's gonna be closer to the color that you're using. So like for me, like a red or pink. So I'm going to use the more pinky shimmery shade, pinkish orange-ish shimmery shade here in the Huda palette. And I'm just going to dip my brush in there, knock it off, and then I'm going to apply it to the corners of my eyelid, or to the corner of my eye. So this just kind of gives you that extra bang, like so. An extra like pop of color for sure. No. Shoot. No. So usually like the inner corner is a lot lighter of a color, almost like a lighter, whiter kind of color. So usually I don't put that under my brow bone, but I did just put like a little bit under my brow bone there. I'm just gonna blend it in with that clean brush we were blending with there. So it's not as like dramatic. All right, guys, so that is the eyeshadow look there. I hope this helped you. I'm just going to pop off camera and I'm going to finish my look. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of bronzer, a little bit of blush, and some mascara, and I will be right back with the final look. Okay guys, I am back. So this is the final look. Please let me know what you think. I hope that this helped you become a little bit more familiar with eyeshadow. I feel like the look is very winter, fall-y. I'm not quite ready for that season yet, but I think the look looks pretty good. Like I said, I did add like some blush, some bronzer, lipstick, lip gloss, highlighter, and of course mascara to finish up the look. But yeah, eyeshadow doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be difficult. It's just a fun thing to play around with before you become more comfortable and find out your rhythm and what you like. What works for you might possibly not work for another, and what works for me maybe might not work for you. But all that matters is that you are happy in your skin and how you look, and that you're having a good time. So you guys, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. As you guys have seen, I have actually started a new company with Unique selling their beauty products. So I am super excited about that. I will be hopping back on filming again tomorrow, I believe, because I'm gonna have some new products from them that I wanna show you guys and I wanna make a video about. So I'm just waiting for my doorbell to ring, or I don't even have a doorbell. I'm waiting to hear that package being dropped off at my front door so I can show you guys those products. A little bit about Unique right now. I have a huge sale going on. Everything on the entire website is 25% off. So that includes any type of makeup and skincare products. So they have amazing mascara. They have absolutely awesome foundation. They have some beautiful eyeshadow colors that will be great for the fall. They have concealer, they have primer, they have bronzer, they have blush, they have everything. So you guys, if you are interested in learning more about those products, just send me a message down below and I will reach out to you and give you more information about those unique products. But please make sure that you like this video, you subscribe to my channel, and you leave any comments, questions down below. Let me know what's going on. What's your guys' fall look? What's your go-to color for fall? Are you guys excited for fall? So you guys, thanks for checking out my video. I hope you have a wonderful day and we will see you again very soon. Bye.